Welcome to the MADA Safety Training Library. In this video, we're going to discuss portable fire extinguishers, specifically when and how to use a fire extinguisher. Fires in a dealership are never good and always best avoided. Unfortunately, chances are good that one time or another you will experience a fire in a dealership. In the event that a fire does occur, do you know what to do? Do you know how to use a fire extinguisher, when to use it, when not to use it, and what types of fire extinguishers should you use that you have available? Do you also know when to attempt to extinguish it or when it's better to call 911 and evacuate? These are all good things that we're going to talk about and we're going to cover in this video. Okay, let's talk about when to fight a fire and when not to. The only fire that you should ever attempt to extinguish in a dealership is what we call an incipient stage fire. An incipient stage fire is generally described as a small fire that's in the beginning stages, can be easily extinguished with a portable fire extinguisher. You should not attempt to extinguish any fire that is putting off thick, dark smoke or that's spreading rapidly. Know if you can safely extinguish the fire before you attempt to. Identify quickly what is burning so you'll know which type of extinguisher to use. Most extinguishers in the dealership will be the ABC type, useful on almost all classes of fire. And in this video, we'll describe exactly what ABC means. Keeping the exit to your back, always try to fight a small fire with the exit behind you. Never allow the fire to get between you and an exit. Always keep a safe escape route if you need to get out because you're overwhelmed and the fire gets too big. Okay, let's talk about 4 classes of fires. Fires are classified by the material that is burning. They're classified primarily either Class A, Class B, Class C, or Class D. Class A fires are ordinary combustibles such as wood, paper, rubber, or trash. Materials that leave an ash. So that's a good way to think about that. Class A, ash. Class B fires are flammable liquids such as gasoline, grease, and paint solvents, usually found in barrels. So B in barrels is a good way to remember that. Class C, energized electrical circuits. Remember C for current. Class D is flammable metals such as sodium, magnesium, potassium, etc. This is a special class of fire and a specific class of fire extinguisher. Many vehicles manufactured today have magnesium components, so it's important for the dealership to at least have 1 or 2 Class D fire extinguishers available. Let's talk about extinguishing fires. 4 elements required to have a fire. You have to have oxygen, fuel, heat, and a chemical chain reaction. If you look at the diagram on the right side of this slide, it defines what we call the fire tetrahedron, the 4 things that must exist simultaneously for a fire to occur. To extinguish a fire, you simply remove one of these four elements. We cool the fire below the temperature which it'll burn. We remove the oxygen. We remove the fuel source, which is, for another discussion, is also a method of controlling a fire, or we break up the chemical chain reaction. Every fire extinguisher manufactured is designed to do 1 or more of these things, to affect 1 or more of these 4 elements. Okay, using a fire extinguisher, I want you to remember the acronym PASS. What PASS stands for is pull the pin, holding the extinguisher upright. A is aim the extinguisher at the base of the fire. S is to squeeze the handle to discharge the agent. And the other S is to sweep the fire extinguisher side to side, covering the base of the fire. Remember PASS, pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. Pretty simple. That's how fire extinguishers work. Reading a fire extinguisher label. It's important to know what type of fire that particular fire extinguisher is going to be useful on. Labels will indicate the type of fires or the classes of fires. If you look at this illustration, you'll see that it's a multi-purpose dry chemical extinguisher, useful on ABC classes of fires. And there's even a little pictogram at the bottom that shows ordinary combustibles, flammable liquids, or energized electrical fires. So make sure that you read the labels, know what you have. There's several different types of fire extinguishers that could be in a dealership. And it's important to know which one is where. Basic types that are more common fire extinguishers in use today are carbon dioxide, trichemical, pressurized water, or multi-purpose dry chemical. Differences being dry chemical is usually a BC type extinguisher, flammable liquids and energized current. Works by removing the oxygen from a fire. Carbon dioxide, usually also a BC type of extinguisher, dilutes oxygen and starves the fire. Multi-purpose dry chemical removes oxygen and also cools the fire. Thus, a multi-purpose dry chemical extinguisher is an ABC type of fire extinguisher. It can be also used on ordinary combustibles, which require those materials to be cooled below the burning point. And then pressurized water cools the fire, is only a Class A fire extinguisher. Let's talk about that for just a second. Class A, again, is ordinary combustibles, anything that leaves an ash, wood, paper, rubber, etc. If we take the oxygen away, the heat is still in the material that's burning. As soon as oxygen is reintroduced, the fire starts again. The only way to cool that, or to extinguish a Class A fire, is to cool it below the burning temperature. Where water is extremely effective, so is multi-purpose dry chemical. The nice thing about an ABC extinguisher is you don't have to think about it. Any fire, grab it. It's usable on there. But you do need to be aware of the extinguishers close to your work area, because some may be a dry chemical, but only a BC, meaning that if you have a trash can fire, it's going to be pretty, or shop rags, it's going to be pretty useless, because trash cans and shop rags would both be a Class A. Agreed? Okay, let's talk about extinguishing using water. A few safety things that we need to address here. We're going to talk about whether you're just using a water hose or including pressurized water extinguishers if your company has one of these. Again, water is a useful agent for extinguishing Class A fires. Pressurized water extinguisher, even a water hose, is useful. Class A fires extinguished by cooling the fire. We talked about that. A couple things. Never, never, never use water on a Class B or C fire. Most flammable liquids are petroleum-based, meaning that oil floats on water. So if we try to use water to extinguish a gasoline fire, for instance, or an oil fire, for instance, we could actually spread the fire instead of putting it out. And then hopefully we don't really have to say this, but we're going to anyway. If you have an energized electrical fire, such as a switch or an electrical piece of equipment like an air compressor or a lift that's on fire, don't ever use water. Remember, water and electricity don't mix, right? Never use water on hot electrical circuits. In conclusion, again, remember the pass method: pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. Never use water on flammable liquids or electrical fires. Know where the fire extinguishers are closest to your work area before you need them. Make sure that they are also well marked, clear, and easy to get to in the event of an emergency. The best practice is to prevent fires in the first place, so you don't even have to use a fire extinguisher. Practice good housekeeping, separate flammable or combustible materials from potential sources of ignition, and keep soiled rags and waste batteries put away. No smoking in work areas. If you're smoking in the body shop, smoking in detail, working with a flammable wheel cleaner, for instance, obviously this is a problem. In a service department, we've actually seen people in service departments with a cigarette in their mouth and a can of choke cleaner in their hand. Good way to lose your eyebrows. So best to prevent fires in the first place, to not even have to worry about using a fire extinguisher. This concludes our training session on fire extinguishers. Your supervisor will get with you. There is also a test online that can be accessed through the MADA training site. Just something for the documentation and records of the dealership that the training has been completed. So get with your supervisor to get a link to that, and they'll show you how to sign in. Okay, this is the end of our video. Have a good day and a safe day.